The time is now. It's now or never for the Town as we go to the London Stadium for the first ever time on Saturday afternoon to take on West Ham United, knowing full well anything but any kind of positive result is likely to see the Town relegated at some point on Saturday. To preview the game alongside me, I have the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe and Town superfan and star cyclist Mark Crowther. Gents, have to get a result in this one.
Yep, no beating around the bush, is it? We know what else to do.
We've talked about must-win games for a long time, but there is no doubt it is do or die. We have to win, and we have to get the 3 points.
And we'll preview that must-win game straight after this intro.
Can you believe it? We are Premier League! Yes!
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got these massive souls.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
If you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that we're not in our usual studio right now. We're at the presentation evening. We've recorded this podcast early, which means that since we recorded it, news has come out that David Moyes' last game at home as West Ham manager will be on Saturday. You'll hear us discuss that, but that has happened since we did that discussion. And we've also got the verdict of the Nottingham Forest appeal. Again, in this podcast, you will hear us talk about that. We now know nothing has changed. It's as you were with regards to that, which is exactly how we want it to be.
Well, yeah, they should never have been able to appeal, really, should they? It was farcical that they were allowed to, farcical that they were given two back in the first place, and farcical that the meeting happened, or the appeal happened in the 24th of April, and we didn't get the decision until today. So that's ridiculous, but it's all as you were, and everything we talk about in this podcast, apart from the David Moyes bit, because he's going, still rings true.
Indeed it does. Before we return you to the podcast, just a reflection on another wonderful presentation evening. Awards were picked up by Thomas Kaminski, by Ted and Mengi, by Ross Barkley. Tahith Chong was the goal of the season, and young Zach Nelson was the young player of the season. But before we touch on all of those, the real big award of the night was the Kevin Catlin Memorial Trophy that went to the Luton Town medical team. It could only have gone to the Luton Town medical team. Heroes, a lot of them.
Incredible. I mean, there's some things that are more important than football, and what they did along with the Bournemouth medics, you have to give it to them as well. And the paramedics at the ground in the Vitality Stadium was save a man's life, because he said himself since that for 2 minutes and 40 seconds he was technically dead, and that is incredible. There's not even words that we can say on a football podcast to credit what they've done there, and it was an incredible moment, very poignant.
The Kevin Catlin Memorial Trophy almost doesn't seem quite enough recognition for what these guys did on December the 16th, but it was the least we could offer them. Goal of the season. There was some good goals this season, but I think you could tell by the applause in the room that Tahith Chong's goal against Liverpool was the most popular. It was my goal of the season. I have no problem admitting that. I think it might have been yours as well. It was certainly the moment of the season. Just spectacular.
The noise, I always remember it. It always puts hairs on the back of my neck stand up when that went in, because it wasn't something that happened out of nothing. There was a massive build up from the defending the corner to the break to Ross Barkley's ball out to Issa timing it perfectly, to Heath screaming his lungs out to get that ball, and then it being perfect and slid in front of him. And it's a stunning goal. I wish it would have meant a victory. Obviously they got one back, and that was quite poignant in itself because it was Luis Diaz, but great moment.
Really was, yeah. Away day player of the season was Ted and Mengi, a guy who, when he arrived, no one really expected him to be a permanent fixture in the side, but situations have dictated that he has been, and what a player he's been, and well-deserved recognition.
Fabulous player, yeah. I don't think anybody expected him to come in and be a starter, really. He was young, and I think he's even said himself he had some injury troubles beforehand, before coming to Luton. circumstances have dictated that he has had to play, and he has grown into that role, not only as a defender but as a leader as well. And at the age of 21, that's incredible stuff. So well deserved from him.
And even younger than that is young Zach Nelson, who made his Premier League debut at Crystal Palace, won the ball back for the equaliser, which was a shortlist for the goal of the season. It's fantastic recognition for him to be the young player of the season. Obviously, supporters always love their own coming through, and that's 2 years on the trot now that this has been won by an academy product after Joe Johnson won it last year. And it's great to see the academy getting the rewards that it is.
Yeah, that's what Luton's always been about since we were boys. Players coming through, you know, the likes of Kingsley Black, and even in recent times James Justin, that is. There's another one now, isn't there? Joe Johnson, he's played as well. And that's what I think the club are trying to get back to. They want to get category 2 status for the academy. We all know that the trials and tribulations of getting a dome, which hopefully is not too far away, and they can solve that problem. And then it's about producing players and getting that conveyor belt of them coming through, because it's one of the main ways that this club is going to be able to compete. We've been in this division, Premier League now, and I think Rob highlighted it, that when you've got like a player like Declan Rice scoring a late winner against you, and you've played so well, and he's cost £100+ million, this club can't compete with that, but they can in finding gems and producing gems from a young age. So it's vital.
And we wish Zach well in his future Luton career, that's for sure. Another man who's been vital this season is Thomas Kaminski, who won the Ian Pearce Memorial Trophy for the home man of the matches in the Luton News. But maybe more importantly for him, at least, he won the Players' Player of the Season. Goalkeepers don't win that generally. It's usually the star man out on the pitch, isn't it? So it kind of shows you what the players think of the man between the sticks, that they voted him as their Player of the Season.
I think he's been absolutely outstanding, a wonderful addition. He's made some fine stops. I wish he'd been able to get more clean sheets, but it's just so hard to keep them in this division. I'll be honest with you, he was my Player of the Season because Ross Barkley's been incredible, and I think rightly a lot of people have said he's the best player that they've ever seen in a Luton shirt. But for consistency wise, for pulling out the big stops all the time, I would have gone for Thomas Kaminski. So I think it's well deserved.
He wasn't voted the Player of the Season, though. That was Ross Barkley, who is my Player of the Season. I agree, Thomas Kaminski's not far behind him. But Ross Barkley is just a joy to watch. When you go to watch football, you want to leave it having really enjoyed something in it. And I can't remember too many times I've watched Ross Barkley this season and I've not enjoyed watching him. Of course, I've enjoyed everything around him, but he just lights up a game of football when he's on it. I think of Newcastle away, I think of Brighton at home, I think of Arsenal at home, I think of copious games around that time. Ross Barkley wasn't just getting talked about playing for England as just throwaway lines. It was because his form was so good, and for me he's a deserved Player of the Season. And not only did he take home the Player of the Season, he obviously took home the Young Supporters Player of the Season, and of course he's the signing of the season as a result of that. 3 awards on the night. The only disappointment is that unfortunately he was ill and couldn't make the awards evening.
Yeah, that is a big disappointment, and I know people might be a bit worried about that, but I've done a bit of asking around and it was precautionary. So hopefully Ross Barkley and Carlton Morris will be on the pitch at the Olympic Stadium on Saturday, because we need every little bit of help we can get. Luck hasn't favoured Luton this season, so it'd be nice if it did of late. But you don't want the last thing. You don't want the last match to have come already for Ross Barkley, if indeed it has. So we want to see him more, and he's been incredible this season. Just like he's one of these players that we always heard about them when we were knocking around in the lower leagues, where you have to really mix it and stuff like that. But when you're watching Match of the Day and you hear about these players that just seem to have an extra yard of space around them because of their football intelligence, and that's what we've seen in Ross Barkley, that ability to have that space. But even if players close him down, or 3 close him down, he'll spin away out of trouble, and his first thought is to what can I do to get the attack going here. And so, whether it's a 60-yard ball or that ball that we've already spoken about for Teeth Chong's goal against Liverpool, that sort of thing, it's been wonderful to see. And he's been so good again alongside Sambi Lokonga as well, and it's been one of those things that's been so disappointing and frustrating that he's had those 2 terrible injuries that have kept us from seeing 2 wonderful players play alongside each other, but great player.
And I mentioned that Ross won signing of the season. That signing of the season award is now going to be called the Pelly-Ruddock and Panzu signing of the season award, and he was given his own special recognition at the presentation evening. 10 years of service, 5 divisions, 400 games of football. What a player Pelly-Ruddock and Panzu is. David Wilkinson on the stage called him a club legend. We've been calling him that on this podcast since we started. He absolutely is.
There's no question. I don't see how anybody can say he's not. That what he's done to achieve those accolades that you just mentioned there will probably never ever be achieved again. It'd be hard for any club to go from the non-league to the Premier League, and I know that, say, Wrexham will try it, but they won't have the same player playing with them for the whole of that time, and not only playing but being so crucial to the team and the squad, and being so highly regarded as Pelly-Ruddock and Panzu. It's been a pleasure really to watch him grow up, really, because when he came here as a boy and now he's a 30-year-old man, a wonderful servant to this club, and hopefully he's got more in the legs.
And just a quick word on the manager before we go. I spoke to him just a moment ago. I mean, the job he's done, regardless of what happens over these last 2 games, just can't be understated at all.
No, not at all. I think this is one of the things that a lot of other Premier League fans just really don't understand, that they cannot understand why fans stick around and clap at a defeat and sing Rob Edwards' name at a defeat, because what he's helped achieve at this football club has been remarkable. I mean, he hasn't done it all on his own, and there's been John Still and Nathan Jones and Mick Harford along the way that have got there, but he put the icing on the cake last season by guiding this team through the playoffs, which had never been done before, and such a tumultuous game as well. To do that, we're in May 2024 here, so we're coming up to the anniversary of that game, and I don't think anyone's going to ever forget it. If you were there, if you were even watching it on telly, if you have any Luton persuasion whatsoever, him and his team have masterminded that, and it's afforded them this entire season of goodwill, and probably many more, because we know and we have perspective of where this club has come from, and where it's going, really, and particularly under him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of a wrap from the presentation evening. We'll return you to the podcast, as I say, recorded before the news came out about David Moyes. Hello everyone, welcome along to the latest episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast. As I said before the intro, we are previewing West Ham United against Luton, 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon. If you don't have tickets at the away end, you're not going to get one now. That's been sold out for a while, so you'll have to rely on the radios or all the other ways of updating yourself on this game. To preview it, I've got James and I've got Mark back with us for this episode. James, I'll start with you. Just got to leave it all out there now and hope that this time we get the win that we need.
Yep, the performance against Everton was key. If you can take that into West Ham, they are not having the best of time of it of late, which doesn't tend to mean much in this season. We had the similar thing at Wolves, but we know how that one ended. But the performance level, if they can do that, if Elijah is on song as he was, and to Heath Chong in attacking sense and in a defensive sense, Osho was much more improved. Ted and Mengi, as long as he doesn't WWF his way through the first half, then there's a chance.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, we have a pretty decent record against West Ham over the years, going back to the sort of 80s and things. It was West Ham we beat in the Littlewoods Cup semi-final the year that we got to the final and lost to Notts Forest. So we've certainly got nothing to kind of fear from a historical record, but they've been in Europe this season for a reason, Mark. They are a good side, even though their form currently isn't great. We shouldn't be expecting anything other than a really, really tough game here.
It's going to be incredibly tough. I mean, they're on the back of heavy defeat, and I heard David Moyes talk about lacking mental strength, and I'm always nervous when when teams have had a heavy defeat and they'll have something to prove. But like you said, I think the chances of Europe have now gone for West Ham. There's a lot of noise around David Moyes, which hasn't gone away for ages. So it's going to be tough. They've got quality players that can hurt us, and we've got to be on our game, which we will be, because I'm expecting the same level of performance as we got on Friday.
Yeah, I think everyone knows, reading between the lines, this is David Moyes' last home game in charge of West Ham United, isn't it? They're not going to extend his contract. There was talks over the weekend that they've already been speaking to Julian Lopetegui, who was at Wolves before he ran out on them on the eve of the season, and Ruben Amorim has also been mentioned as being a successor to Moyes. So whenever the rumours start that they're looking at other men, then you know that the writing's on the wall for him. West Ham fans haven't really wanted Moyes, even though he's won a European trophy. They haven't wanted him all season, have they? Too negative. Be as negative as you like on Saturday, Mr. Moyes, by all means. We've already lost to West Ham once this season. Wouldn't have done if VAR had eyes in its head and gave that James Ward-Prowse handball. Would have drawn 2-2. That was right back when. I mean, this was our third game of the season, wasn't it? West Ham at home. We're a different side to then. They probably are too, to be fair, because there was no Kudos that night. And he looks really, really good. In fact, their front three looks really, really good, because Paqueta looked the best player in the Premier League at the point that we'd played them the first time round. Jared Bowen's going to go to the Euros. Well, I presume Jared Bowen's going to go to the Euros. Who knows with Gareth Southgate? And then we've got Kudos as well, who I noticed on Sunday did 13 dribbles against Chelsea. Obviously didn't get them very far, but 13 dribbles. He's clearly carrying the ball well, so we're going to need to keep an eye on him as well. But they must be gettable defensively, because they've conceded 5 in 2 of their last 3. So this could be one of those sort of high-scoring ding-dong town outings.
Well, if you go by the stats, certainly they've got the worst defensive record other than us 3 at the bottom.
Why do you have to say this? Why, man?
No, I'm saying that's a good thing for us, because they've conceded 70 goals and we've conceded 78. So you can get at them. Obviously, Chelsea did, and they've conceded 5 on a number of occasions this season. I don't think you can really draw too many parallels with when they came to Kenilworth Road, because Luton hadn't found their feet really in the Premier League at that point, and it was the first home game in the Premier League, wasn't it? Yeah, and
Friday night
they bored the arse of everybody, didn't they? There was no sort of going at them from the start. I say that with all due respect, because I think in the reaction podcast to that game, I gave them credit for managing Luton's emotion of that day, that night. It'd be a different kettle of fish down at the Olympic Stadium. Obviously there would be a big Hatters contingent, and hopefully making a hell of a lot of noise. But it's going to be a funny one, isn't it? Because the pressure is kind of on them to bounce back. You don't want to lose 5 goals to a London rival, even if they're not the ones that really stand out in terms of capital clashes between them. But they want to obviously finish off the season in a decent way. But I hope they don't. I hope they absolutely implode, with all due respect. One of my mates is a West Ham fan, so I've got nothing against them. I just really would like them to put in another performance like they did against Chelsea, so we can get a win. And I think it'd be a bit too much to ask for loads and loads of goals to try and bring this goal difference back into line.
No, we'll save that for Chelsea to get them. Yeah, I quite like West Ham. I quite like watching West Ham. I don't really get the hate of Moyes. I mean, he's won them a European trophy. He's got them deep in another European competition. Who knows how far they'd have got this year if they hadn't run into the seemingly unbeatable Leverkusen in the quarterfinals as well. And in the second leg, they were going toe-to-toe with them and nearly got themselves sort of on a level footing. Hey, I don't support West Ham. I don't watch West Ham every week. You guys will know more than me why you don't like him. But on the face of it, doesn't seem to have done a great deal wrong, and he's brought 3 or 4 really exciting attacking players. Okay, seemingly they can't defend for toffee, and that's good, but there's got to be something there. But if they are still 50-50 about keeping Moyes or not keeping Moyes, if the players have lost him, then hopefully they perform in a way that suggests that on Saturday. And who knows? Well, judging by all the West Ham fans I see on social media and things, they're probably going to be as hopeful that we win on Saturday as what we are, because that will put the final nail in Moyes' coffin. And who knows where we go from there. This front three, though, Jared Bowen, he was the one who, he scored the first goal at our place, didn't he? And then he was subject to that stupid chant, which hopefully doesn't get repeated on Saturday afternoon. He's the main danger man, isn't he? He can play from the right, cutting inside, which we've had trouble with all season, from that sort of right winger cutting in and pinging it in the top corner. But he can also play through the middle as well. I kind of hope he plays through the middle, because I think Mengi will look after him pretty well. But if he plays on that side, cutting in with Alfie, it might be it's definitely something we've got to keep an eye on. But it might be better for us if he plays through the middle.
It might even be beher for us if he's saving himself for the Euros.
That would be absolutely perfect, yes.
No, but he's a player that I highly rate. He can pop up in pockets, and his movement, if we switch off for a moment, he can, and they find the pass, then he can turn. He scores from half chances. He doesn't even need clear-cut chances. He is the danger man, and if you think the journey he's been on, where he's come from Hull and he's played in the lower leagues, I don't think he will be resting for the Euros, but we can only wish, because just the way he plays, and he's just got everything. And like I said, we can't switch off for a minute. We just got to. But then he's not the only one. If we only put the focus on Bowen, then there's other players that can hurt us. So in no ways do we underestimate the size of the task to restrict their opportunities, but also for us to take advantage of their defence. I mean, they've conceded 5 on 5 occasions this season. So they can be really good because they're a top 10 side, but when they're bad, they're really bad. So hopefully they're really bad on Saturday.
Please be really bad on Saturday. Yeah. Bowen's great, but the man who pulls the strings, Paqueta, he pulled the strings at our place, didn't he? As I said a minute ago, he looked really, really good. Their record with him and without him, similar to Man City with Rodri and without Rodri. They win an awful lot more games with him and pretty much lose every game without him. And he was out injured, wasn't he, for a period, and they went on like a 10-game run or whatever it was without winning a game. They're not actually in great form now, it should be said. But anyone's going to be a better side with him in it. I think Man City have been sniffing around, haven't they? And that tells you all you need to know about him.
Yeah, I think they wanted him last season. They made no bones about that, did they? And he was different class at Kenilworth Road, to be honest. And that was the first time early in the season, albeit, where you got a sense that this is how good Premier League players could be, the way everything that he did in the game, to be fair. But his vision, his first touch, his calmness on the ball, it was all first class. And yeah, hopefully he's not on the top of his game if he does play against Luton, because it will be difficult. That being said, Ross and Sambi hadn't really kicked in. I don't know if Sambi was even playing then, was he? Yeah,
nor was Ross.
Yeah. So that there's that to contend with as well. That both of them put in a decent performance against Everton. Sambi obviously got the assist, and they've been everybody knows they were fantastic until January, when Sambi got injured, and then everyone else got injured, and then we had threadbare beyond belief. So there's that sort of battle that we haven't seen before, that will be an interesting one. But interesting doesn't cut it, really. You've got to come out on top of that.
Yeah, I've mentioned Kudos already as potentially a third threat, but really the threat would come from, well, if you think back to their second goal at our place, corner headed home by the cat botherer Kurt Zuma. So we need to make sure we don't give stupid free kicks away with James Ward-Prowse around, and corners. And if we do give them away, let's not bear hug anyone this time. Or if we do bear hug someone, let's make sure we do it as far away from our goal as we possibly can. Because set pieces are going to be a big thing, aren't they? Listen, there isn't a David Moyes side that's ever been put onto a pitch that hasn't been good at set pieces. And they've probably got the best set piece taker in the country taking these set pieces. So we need, whatever we do on Saturday, we need to make sure we don't gift silly set pieces away.
Most assists, and also free, like you said, don't give away silly free kicks. A free kick specialist has got the most direct free kicks in the Premier League. It just tells you all you need to know. So I think we've got to make sure that we don't give free kicks away in those positions, or if we do, make sure it's where they can't hurt us. So yeah, they've just got threats all over the pitch, but I feel it's a team we can get at. I mean, it's a big pitch. If please Chio be fit, that we can use him in, even if it's as an impact player. And like I said, it's a big pitch, and we can with what Chong did against Everton, and if we get Chio on the pitch as well, then yeah, we can be as big a threat as they are, and then hopefully get the result.
You two aren't selling a 0-0 to me.
It won't be that. Let's be honest. It won't
be a 0-0 for the simple reason that a draw probably is no good for us. Let's get the actual official things out of the way. If we draw here and Notts Forest lose, and then we win the last game of the season and Notts Forest lose, we stay up. But it's completely out of our hands with a draw here. At least with a win, we force Forest to get a result, be it against Chelsea or be it against Burnley. So that's one reason why it might not be 0-0. And then, like you say, the two defensive records speak volumes of it. They've only won one home game this calendar year in the Premier League. That was against Brentford, who at the time were hit or miss, weren't they? It's the time that Tony started going on his sort of sell me now tour. And I think it was a Monday night game, actually. And West Ham went into it in terrible form. And they were talking in the studio like that, you know, no one was going to win this game because they're both, you know, terrible. And it turned out, I think they won 4-2, and they were 3-0 or 3-1 up fairly early doors, West Ham, and they looked really, really good that night. And now they've seemed to have gone to sleep again, but they haven't won since Leverkusen knocked them out of the Europa League. They've conceded 5 twice in the 3 games that they've played in that time. Drew 2-2 with Liverpool in the other one. Liverpool had 28 shots at goal in that one. I don't know where half of them ended up because they only conceded 2, but so they've sort of conceded 5 twice and 28 shots at goal in the other game. It's just, let's just go all out attack.
Yeah, I know you mean it as a sort of joke, but you pretty much have to, haven't we? Really.
Sorry, attack is the best form of defence. Yeah, that would be the more diplomatic way of saying it, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, but Luton, they've got that possibility now. That starting lineup against Everton was more as full strength as we could possibly hope for, without the players that have got long-term injuries, the ones that have had operations, and Tom being out. It felt like that. Chio, the only one really out of that was missing, that could possibly still come back, and fingers crossed he comes back for this game, and he can show a bit of pace to frighten them in that way. But it gives Luton much more of a front foot feel than any time in these horrible 2.5 months where there's been injuries. It has been kind of a bit more hope than anything else, but there's a bit more expectation on that they can dominate the midfield if they need to, and that Elijah can give defenders a torrid time up there, and hopefully that's the case, because we're going to need everything to go right, almost against the grain really, because it's a season where so much hasn't gone right.
Yeah, we are. There's absolutely no doubt we're good enough to get a result in this game, but at the same time, if they turn it on, they're good enough to do what a lot of teams have done to us. So we've kind of hinted, we've got to stop set pieces against this lot.
That's the thing, isn't it? They don't even need to turn it on, because James Ward-Prowse can whack one in from 35 yards from a set piece, and then that would just cut everything dead. And it is the danger, because he's phenomenal at them. So, yeah. I don't know if anybody can defend against that sort of thing, but maybe just don't give the fouls away in the first place. It's easier said than done, though, isn't it?
Well, he didn't start at Chelsea, did he? So let's go down that plan, Moyes. Yeah, let's start with Alvarez and Souček in the heart of the midfield again. No problem. Keep him off the pitch. First goal in this game feels massive, Mark, doesn't it? If we can get it, if they're conceding 5 quite regularly, And two of them on Sunday was against Nicholas Jackson, who, well, I've said a few times, Michael Jackson would be more favourable up front than Nicholas Jackson. If we can get the first goal and they're conceding goals like they are, they might just go under.
It's been a massive thing for us in this run of where we haven't been able to get the win, is just conceding the first goal. I mean, no one can doubt the heart, the passion, the desire. They'll keep going till the final whistle, but you can control the game so much more by getting the first goal. And if we can be ahead going into the latter part of the game, you can then influence the game with substitutions, and it can be tactical where you've got something to defend, whereas constantly having to chase the game, which has been the case in recent weeks. So getting the first goal, being on the front foot, and if there's a bad noise about Moyes, then it will only get louder if we get ahead. I just think it's massive to, not that we can't come back, but it just makes life so much easier if we can get the first goal.
Yeah, because obviously if we concede the first goal here, everyone's looking at it, well, we're going to need 2 to stay in the division, and then the mountain starts getting a bit steeper, doesn't it? And they're the kind of side that if they go ahead, they might sort of enjoy themselves like they did against Liverpool. And I know they conceded a shitload of shots, but they enjoyed themselves and sort of flourished and things. So that first goal, absolutely massive. If we can get that, then we can just play how we want to, can't we? Whether we defend a bit deeper to stop the runs of Kudos or Bowen in behind and then hit them on the counter-attack, or whether we just keep on going at them. I mean, that's for the coaching staff to work out. But you do get the feeling this one will be one of those games that whoever scores first will win it.
Yeah, because from a Luton perspective, it's going to be quite nervy, isn't it? So if you get that, it relieves that pressure a little bit, and they can either go under like they have done against Chelsea at the weekend, or if they want to try and attack it, they can leave a bit more space. And then, like I say, I really hope that Chio's playing and that he's got a full hamstring on him. It's not going to collapse under that, under the weight of him turning the afterburners on, because if you can see that sort of sight at the Olympic Stadium, it's going to be a really exciting one.
Yeah, we're recording this on Sunday night. Obviously, we've got the presentation evening Tuesday night, which is stopping us from recording when we normally would do. So we're recording this earlier than usual. If I see Chio on Tuesday night, if he needs another hamstring, I'll just get the knife, take it out of my leg. It's all yours, son. You can have both of them. I really don't care. I'll happily go home in a wheelchair if it means that you're running at one of their fullbacks on Saturday afternoon. And actually, their fullbacks, Emerson played really well at our place, didn't he? Had a goal disallowed for offside from VAR quite early on in the second half. But I've said it before on this podcast, and I say it again, whenever a Brazilian defender is in front of me, I always think good going forward, but you can get at them going the other way. And that's very much the case here.
Yeah, the goals against column for them speaks volumes in that regard, doesn't it? It's not to say there aren't a lot of goals against Luton, obviously, but the difference is they're top 10 and bottom 3 currently, with designs of somehow getting out in miracle fashion, which there's obviously still a chance. So, it just seems to me that they're below really hot and cold at the moment. Like when they're really good, they could probably beat anybody, but hopefully they're not that team on the weekend. If you've got nothing to play for, it can have that effect. I don't want to say that this phrase of being on the beach, because I don't think that's true. Everyone's still very much top class, but I view it more like the old British cycling 1% issue. Not just because you're on the podcast, Matt. I'm not just talking about cycling now, but
we will come on to cycling in a minute.
No, more just the 1% aspect. If you can squeeze an extra 1% out of it, that's how you get success. And maybe it works the other way. If they're off it 1%, you might be able to get them.
Yeah, I mean, no one's suggesting that they're going to be on the beach or anything like that. Ultimately, I think it's something like 3.2 million quid for every league spot that you get up the league this year. Now, that's not on the players, is it? That that's the chairman that's kind of tapping them on the shoulder and saying, woo, with another 3.2 million. But ultimately, if you're not up for it, if there's a 50-50 tackle to be had and you're not up for it, you don't go into it because you think you might get hurt, and that's where it kind of comes from. And we did see a couple of those at Wolves. We did in the early stages before Wolves scored the first one. They didn't really fancy a couple of them 50-50s when we were on the front foot. So that's encouraging. If we can get Chio on the pitch, then that would be absolutely fantastic, because there's no pace in their back line. Zuma, not exactly quick at all. I think it was Bonner who played alongside him at Chelsea. Again, well into his mid-30s, not exactly quick. And then it's Kufau that they use down the right-hand side. Again, not exactly quick. So if we can have Chong, Carlton, Elijah and Chio going at them in a four, then you have to think that we're going to worry them. Yes, they're going to worry us coming the other way, but now's the time really that we just got to forget about what's coming the other way, and we just got to go out there and, as I said earlier, attack's the best form of defence.
I think game management is crucial, but it's a must-win game. And at what point, depending how the game plays out, at what point do we just, a bit like the last 15 minutes against Everton, it's just how will the game play out, and that depends on the start we make and whether we can get ahead. And also, like if Chio's back, and like we saw on Friday when we got Luke Berry to come on. I mean, Luke Berry makes things happen, and we can get everyone to give it absolutely everything, which they have done all season. And then we've got with the injuries clearing out, we're now able to have people that can come on that can influence the game, and that can. It'll probably be nervy, and then probably go late into the game to get the win. But we don't care how we get it, as long as we get the win, and we can take it to the last game of the season.
Yeah, here to that. I really don't care how we get the win, as long as we get the win. That is for sure. And hey, if we do get the win, Chelsea have suddenly started playing some really nice football. 2.5 hours later, they're going to be playing against, well, it'll be 45 minutes after the full-time whistle, they're going to be playing against Forest. You got to look at that right now and say Chelsea are favourites to win that game. Obviously, that doesn't necessarily mean that they will, in much the same way that West Ham are favourites to win this game. Doesn't mean to say that they will. But I'm a lot more confident being in the Chelsea camp to get a result for us, certainly than I was the Sheffield United one. I mean, Jesus, we're barking well and truly up the wrong tree with regards to that, weren't we? But, a few weeks ago, Chelsea were a basket case. Now, all of a sudden, they've caught form. Unlike West Ham, they can make Europe. They are playing for something strong on Saturday. And there's still an element of me that Forest are no good. So if we can get this win here, crikey, we could well set up a final day to, I was going to say enjoy, but no one would do that. But we would certainly take that position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are the small slivers of hope that you're clinging on to. It is out of the hands, which is a difficult one. But if you can get a win at West Ham, puts the pressure on Forest, and like you say, Chelsea are playing much better. I think Chelsea win that game because they have Europe to go for. They've found form out of nowhere in recent weeks, and even Nicholas Jackson scoring as well, like you say. And I think that's crucial. You could probably even, I don't want to tempt fate this, but you could get a draw at West Ham and that happen, then it goes to the last day. So we say must win, but there are other permutations are available, But
yeah, it's must not lose.
Yeah.
Lose and we're gone, because we're not catching the goal difference up. So lose and we're relegated. The mathematicians will tell you, much like they said with Huddersfield on Saturday when they needed something like a 25-goal swing, that they weren't relegated. They were. We lose this, we're relegated, regardless of what Forest do. I mean, the Forest might get the result that actually relegates us. But what is it, 12 goals? So if we lose, that would be even more. We're not gaining that in one game of football. So we have to get something. Now, if we get a draw out of this and then Forest lose, you're right, it's not must win because we're still in the fight. But if we do come away from the London Stadium empty-handed, that's it.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. And I think if it'd be useful if Burnley can get a decent result, which means they've still got a hope of a chance on that final game. For when they play Forest as well, it's still, we're still requiring snookers, really, aren't we, at all aspects of this? But
very topical with the World Championship final taking place right now.
Is it? I didn't mean that either. I've done cycling and snooker. I didn't mean either of them. Great analogies. I think that that we're realistic. We know that that's the situation, isn't it? But if you can get a positive result at West Ham, take it to the last day, who knows? The pressure massively ramps up then, doesn't it? And it's about who can deal with it the most. And both teams haven't had a great deal of luck with the results, which is why we're down there. But I'd massively fancy Luton at home to Fulham more than I would Forest having to get something at Burnley.
And that's the thing, Mark, isn't it? I mean, when we were all on the train we were on the train, you was obviously cycling to Brighton, but when we were making our way to Brighton, if someone had said we were going to go to West Ham still alive in the division and not completely out of touch, there's still a realistic chance, albeit a hard realistic chance, of staying in the Premier League, we would all have taken this.
Absolutely. And comment Rob makes is that we expected to be here. I'm sure the Forest didn't expect to be here. And like I said, 2 games to go, we'd have all the experts that would be relegated by Christmas and the lowest points, and we're still in it fighting. All we can do is win the games, and whatever happens, they've just made us proud, and it's been an incredible journey. But we can do it. We just we need some help. And for me, the other thing is that, like you've said, is that Burnley have something to play for when they play Forest. If they're already relegated, and then Forest play them, then we need Burnley to have something to play for. So we need a lot of things to go in our favour. But on the day that 34 years ago we survived at Derby, that was a worse situation than we're in now. So keep the faith, keep believing.
Yeah, I mean, shout that as loud as possible. Yeah, absolutely. 1990, no one really gave us a prayer, and Tim Breaker didn't score many goals, but he timed it perfectly right. And whoever's playing right back on Saturday, we don't score many goals from right back, but if whoever it is wants to ping up with a 30-yarder, I mean, imagine if it's Hashi and he pings up with a 30-yarder in the right goal for once. I mean, what a legend. They need to put the athletics track back on so that he could run around it and do a lap of honour.
I don't think Tim Breaker scored it from right back, did he? He scored it from a million miles away.
Well, that is very true. Yeah. I'm not even sure he was in Derby when he hit that. It was that far out. That's pretty much, how it is. We would all have taken this position at the start of it. We've all got to, just got to believe. All we've got to do, we've just got to win 2 football matches. And as we keep on saying, we might not even need to do that. So that's the situation we're in. At the time of recording, Luton have got to make sure we get a result, whatever that result is, at West Ham, and try and hope that Chelsea do the same and take it to the last day of the season. And last days of the season, we've known it so many times, you just do not know on that last day. And that's what we can hope for, really. That's almost it for this episode of the podcast, but we're not going to leave without score predictions. Mark, as you're our guest, how does West Ham v Luton end?
It ends 3-2 to Luton.
Oh, just like back in 1990. Like
the cup game against West Ham with Scotty Oakes.
Of course.
Like the 3-2 win 34 years ago today at Derby. Both teams don't keep clean sheets. It's got goals written all over it. I hate to wonder what the odds are for a 0-0, but don't put your money on it because there's going to be goals. So I think 3-2 Luton, and it's bound to be like a 95th minute winner.
How does it end?
4-3. Yeah, Luton 4-3. I'm going out there for an absolutely rip-roaring game where it's tit for tat, goal, and then Luton get the last one.
I gather Luton get the last one. I think there'll be goals as well. 3-1 for me. I'll go between the two of them. 3-1 Luton for me. No real logic to it, actually. Just a hunch that I think we might win 3-1. I wouldn't want us to be sitting back on a 2-1 lead, that's for sure. So I'm kind of hoping we do go and get a third and make life an awful lot easier. In fact, I kind of hope they let us get a third, really. Make life an awful lot easier. Hope I'm not seeing Thomas Kaminski in the opposition penalty box. As much as I loved it, the poor boy didn't know whether to go, come. And then when the final corner the other night wasn't taken, he was relieved because he didn't have to shoot up the other end of the pitch again.
Yeah.
But that's the situation we're in. If the goalie has to go up, the goalie has to go up. Maybe we should just, if he's that good up in the opposition box, stick Tim Krul in goal for the last 5 minutes. Stick Kaminski up there. Put Shazy on there as well. I'm sure he'll have an impact. Bring them all on, Rob, and what will be will be. We're not finished yet, though, because whilst it's do or die for Luton Town on Saturday, and it might be our last dance as an official Premier League club on Saturday, it is officially the last dance for this man to my left, who has cycled anywhere that's relevant over the last 3 or 4 years. This man has cycled to it, and he cycles to a football match in the Premier League for the last time, and actually as a whole for the last time. It's your last dance, Mark. You've been absolutely superb with all of the fundraising that you've done, and for the next minute or two, the floor is yours, mate.
So Saturday is the last dance. The short journey to West Ham, going through Hubland, St Albans, New Southgate, Hackney. So if you see me, come and say hello. But so this is the 20th Premier Pedal Challenge, and so far just been a staggering response. I've raised £5,300 for the Premier Pedal, and if you add to it the money raised for the British Heart Foundation for Bournemouth, that's nearly £8,000. So as well as being finish of the Premier Pedal, it's also sort of a time to hang up the bike, and it's Saturday's going to be my 162nd football ground I've cycled to, 8,000 miles in the last 3 years, which when I started 3 years ago, I had no idea that the response and just how kind everyone's been and the wonderful people that I've met. And so it's just mind-blowing that last 3 years has raised over just about £36,000 for some brilliant charities. And when you think 36,500 went to the player final, that's nearly £1 for every Luton fan on that memorable day. And just unbelievable the journey it's been. And just can't thank everyone enough. So this is the last cycle, and hopefully I'm cycling to West Ham to see a win. But just thank you to everyone that's supported me over the years, and it's going to be an emotional day. But like the team, I don't back down from a challenge, and the team haven't backed down from a challenge all season. So if you see me, come and say hello. Obviously, and if you can donate, as you've done so many times over the last 3 years, then it'd be appreciated just to try and help those charities a little bit more. So we're raring to go Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to watch a lot of heroes on the pitch on Saturday afternoon, but none of them are any more heroic than this guy to my left, who has been cycling for, as he's just said, he's raised over £36,000 for charities of very, very worthy causes. If you can spare any pennies for him this weekend, whether you're a Luton fan, whether you're a West Ham fan, or whether you're a fan of all the other clubs that watch our podcasts, the link is in the video description, where you can make your donation, and they will go a long way to the charities that Mark cycles for. Just remind us again who those charities are, Mark.
So I'm supporting I'm Bolton Keach Hospice, who do a lot of work for people with life-limited illnesses. Prostate Cancer UK, who we know through what Mick's been through and through a lot of people that it relies on. NOAA are the homeless charity in Luton, who do fantastic work for people, for the homeless and the disadvantaged. And the one that's really personal personal to me, as they all are, but especially is Mind BLMK, who do a lot of work for mental health. And obviously this week coming up is Mental Health Awareness Week. And basically the message is that there's always help out there and no one should suffer and struggle with mental health alone. So yeah, they're all brilliant charities, and I'm when I started cycling, I just want to make a difference and try and do something for the charities. So yeah, they're all brilliant charities, and I know they appreciate all the support and all the donations that they've received.
They're brilliant charities, and you're a brilliant person for everything that you've done for those charities. And I know you would want me to thank Bobbers Travel as well, because without Bobbers Travel bringing you home from all of these games, it wouldn't be possible. So
definitely
huge shout out to Bobbers Travel as well. As I say, if you can spare anything as a donation for Mark, it's the last dance for Mark's Premier Pedal and his charity rides in total, and it really will go a long way. Absolute legend.
Oh, remarkable effort. It's incredible stuff that you've done there. I mean, I was getting a sweat on just thinking about 162 grounds you might have gone to, let alone cycle into them. So fair play to you. It's great. And yeah, if anyone can donate, the links in the show notes to this, wherever you get your podcasts. So give it a go.
Indeed, yep. Wish you the best of luck with that cycle, Mark.
Thank
and
you.
Look forward to seeing you at the London Stadium safe and well. That is it for this episode of the podcast. You've got usual amount of time to get your own score predictions in for this one. West Ham against Luton. How does it finish? As always, if you get it right, we will give you a shout out in the West Ham review podcast, which will be out at the usual time next week. James, Mark, thanks very much for your thoughts with regards to this game. Thanks also to the Hightown Club for staging our studio, as always, to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and to Ed Smith Creative for all the designs that you see on set. If you are in the away end on Saturday, leave absolutely everything you've got in the London Stadium, and who knows, between the fans and those boys on the pitch, we might just take this to the final day. We can do this, Town. Come on, you Hatters.
Can you believe it? We are Premier League! Yes!
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got these massive souls.
We're Luton people.